Serious, do you believe mass banning subreddits is killing Reddit? Why or why not? Honestly, the problem is that some mods think they're CEOs and get hard-ons by the virtual power they have. They carry a big stick. No, because I think that overzealous mods with agendas are killing Reddit. If mods did their jobs, we wouldn't have to ban boards. I would also say it's worth mentioning that there is a rather peculiar trend where a select group of user accounts that hold high-level mod privileges on 20, 30 and in some cases 40+ different subreddits, often including numerous default subreddits with huge user bases. There is no way an individual can meaningfully moderate that many active pages in an effective and fair fashion. The admins really should institute some kind of limit for such things. A single account should honestly not be allowed to moderate more than 5 or 10 pages at any one time. A reminder that 97 of the top 200 subs have the same 4 mods. I appreciate the award, but don't give Reddit your money. Fuck Reddit mods. I agree with a lot of the other comments here saying that mods basically suck. People have been saying this since Jailbait and Fat People Hate got banned. The people using those subreddits were a fraction of Reddit's overall user base. Their importance is overblown. If Reddit doesn't want to associate with our likes, whatever. Private corp. Not going to cry about it. Bigger issues. I think it's a part of it because the rules are not universally applied. According to the new rules, rule number 1 in particular, hate is allowed when it is against a majority group, whether that group is a skin color, gender, identity, etc. They really need to clear that up, or people will start to think they have an agenda that goes against certain groups. I don't think it's killing Reddit. It's killing a lot of political discussion, which is really into an issue if you go to Reddit for politics. Reddit still caters to people who are only here for memes and fan bases, which are the majority of users. Reddit's always been a terrible place for political discussion. The internet as a whole is terrible for it regardless of how heavily moderated a given site is. But Reddit's format is basically designed to create echo chambers. I believe the biggest reason the internet is bad for politics because it easily allows you to dehumanize who you're debating with. Something really changed on Reddit in 2016 and it hasn't gone back. Bots, astroturfing, in-branded ads and vote manipulation. Remember when T_D took over the entire front page of all? I feel like this site's been permanently on fire since then. Do you think any of the banned subs had good faith political discussion though? Reddit has a fundamental flaw. The downvote. On any given sub, downvotes will be used to hide, diminish ideas that counter the prevailing thought. On some subreddits, this will be more extreme. Usually on those subreddits where the user base drawn to it is already pretty homogeneous. Eventually this will drive out those who don't agree with the hive mind. So by self-selection, you eliminate thoughtful discussion. The subs this doesn't happen on are those where the subject isn't that dividing, or divides into many factions such as sports. In short, nothing the admins are doing are killing political discussion. Our desire to only hear opinions we like and downvoting ones we don't is doing that. Greater than. Do you think any of the banned subs had good faith political discussion though? Do you think our politics and others like it have good faith political discussions? No. The amount of misinformation is in itself enough to discredit it. We do not see the best reason, argued or educated opinion, as which we should consider primarily, but the most agreeable. The nature of echo chambers I believe to be damaging and dividing today's political climate. Nah. I've been coming to this site off and on for about 11 years and it roils through controversies regularly, but overall, it's largely the same. The majority of people don't post or care much about the drama. People still come to the site organically and find their own usage of it that has nothing to do with any of the hot button stuff. No, because there are still millions of users. If it was killing Reddit they would be moving to other platforms, as one of my managers put it. Lately, customers can more grief than they're worth, and sometimes it's best to pass on them. That being said, some of the bans make no sense when you look at what they leave up. I think it's more so that Reddit practically hold a monopoly on Build a Forum. It's so big that people can't go anywhere else to discuss their hobbies because of lack of other people. Not just that, but the vast majority of users come to Reddit to look at pretty mainstream, unobjectionable content like memes, TV, movie fan culture, pictures of pets, sports stuff, etc. I get that some people are upset at how Reddit has sometimes applied its rules. But the fact is the overwhelming majority of Reddit users just don't care because the stuff they come to Reddit for is completely unaffected by the presence or absence of edgier content. Who cares if Reddit applies its rules inconsistently if I can still read about the movies, shows I like and see some funny memes? The vocal minority complaining about censorship just doesn't represent the experience of most people on Reddit, who just don't really care that much. The mainstream content doesn't seem that unobjectionable to me any longer. The site is pretty negative. Go to popular to see what is actually trending. See a video of a fight or a car crash. Something involving Karen. Something intentionally controversial like white fragility. A million different politics and Trump threads, etc. I was banned from r/sex for mentioning the sub r/nofap. I didn't say it was a great sub. But this guy in the op said he wanted to stop masturbating. I thought a sub dedicated to not beating off might help. Apparently mentioning this sub is worth banning someone. I was banned from Mad Lads for commenting on coronavirus lol. The idea of nofap isn't bad. However, last time I checked it out of curiosity, they formed into some kind of cult that I wouldn't want anywhere near me. I don't know the current situation though. Damn. And you probably helped the dude a bunch too. Addiction is a real thing. It's a shame you got banned for that. I think it's interesting people do not want to be challenged on their beliefs and will actively seek a way to silence the people who do not share their own. The best late-night conversations were over a cigarette and a beer, and you shared differences of opinion but helped each see the world in a different way. Everything is a crusade these days, causing deeper divides with little understanding from each side. Empathy is a lost art. Greater than the best late-night conversations were over a cigarette and a beer, and you shared differences of opinion but helped each see the world in a different way. Did you go to these subreddits? They didn't welcome different opinions and would double down on theirs while posting even more vulgar memes. So basically politics. Greater than. I think it's interesting people do not want to be challenged on their beliefs and will actively seek a way to silence the people who do not share their own. I was banned from a few of those subs for respectfully refuting some of their claims. This was not an issue of Reddit stepping in and silencing a debate. Most of those banned subs did not consider their ideologies as up for debate. They actively shut out all voices that didn't contribute to a positive feedback loop of anger. I don't want to be challenged on racist, monsieur, it's wrong. Black people are real people. We had a war about it 150 years ago. That's some old shit. Fuck off with your conservative views on race. Racism is evil, clearly. The problem is people claim racism at things that aren't, and people aren't willing to have a dialogue to understand each other. Dialogue has gone out the window. It's all about taking sides and shutting down people you don't agree with. You want to question what I'm saying is racist? That means you're a horrible racist. Quote, it isn't helping. It's just building isolated echo chambers. Precisely. We're all being sent into distinct echo chambers. The West is making a huge mistake in thinking that we can do away with the freedom of expression, debate. The censorship has gone too far. And to see people actively cheering when others lose their freedom is horrifying. Reddit stopped being good after it got filled with advertisements and fucking political spam, monsieur. Just get ad block and don't join any political subreddits. That's what I do at least. Problem is people will bring up politics in completely non-political subs. Not killing Reddit, just changing the user base. It would be fine if Reddit didn't keep moving the goalposts. Have you read their new policy? Greater than. While the rule on hate protects such groups, it does not protect all groups or all forms of identity. For example, the rule does not protect groups of people who are in the majority or who promote such attacks of hate. Either ban it for everyone or no one. That doesn't even make sense. Majority for what? I'm guessing it means the US. But damn, that's US-centric. I guess USA is about 50% of Reddit, but still. The last bit makes sense though. Paradox of tolerance and all. I can't think of any banned subreddit that wasn't a festering nest of absolute pieces of shit. If anything, Reddit isn't banning fast enough. The only one I can think of became Hydro Homies. Banning somebody from a bar, stadium, restaurant due to poor behavior doesn't kill the franchise. In some cases I've seen whole organizations banned from a venue because their staff consistently caused issues. Why would it kill Reddit? There's a minimum expectation of civility and rules to follow. If certain people or groups can't follow the rules, then it's in Reddit's interest to see them gone. Greater than. While the rule on hate protects such groups, it does not protect all groups or all forms of identity. For example, the rule does not protect groups of people who are in the majority or who promote such attacks of hate. Like banning one color of skin from entering the bar but not another skin color. The idea that every web platform needs to be 100% willing to accommodate any point of view needs to die. How do people organize before the internet? They met in physical spaces like restaurants, community centers, and convention centers. If a bunch of Nazi sympathizers wanted to meet up in your restaurant, would you let them? Fuck no. Who cares if they gather somewhere else? You don't want to associate yourself with that messaging, regardless of whether or not they'll be able to find somewhere else to do it. Does rejecting Nazi sympathizers from your restaurant hurt your business? Not in the slightest. This isn't a slippery slope. There is almost always a very clear line between something you'd be willing to tolerate and something you wouldn't. If we wouldn't tolerate it in person, we shouldn't tolerate it online. So what happens to the Nazi sympathizers then? In the real world they get relegated to D-list venues and seedy places no one, including them, usually wants to be, along with all the other people with disgusting ideas. Same thing can happen online. If they want to use a shitty internet platform so that they can continue having shitty opinions, so be it, but they're not welcome here. Meanwhile, most restaurants that kicked out everyone who said the word Islam after a certain shooting would immediately fall apart. Web platforms have such an entrenched network effect that they can be weaponized to assert political opinions, as Reddit has. Thankfully, as of last week this became illegal and we should expect changes. FYI, the first part is in reference to the time after a certain club shooting where thousands of benign comments were purged because they mentioned that the shooter was of a certain faith. I think trying to silence controversial thoughts and ideas doesn't make them go away. It just makes it harder to know what they're up to. As for Reddit, it won't kill it, but it will conform it. It doesn't make them go away, but it does prevent them from spreading. We don't need to give these people free reign of one of the largest platforms available. You don't stop people from being hateful by banning them. You just make them go somewhere else. The only way to change someone's mind is to engage with them. That's not as easy if they aren't allowed on the sites you normally engage with people on. Sure, many people are stubborn and irrational and proud to be hateful, but their behavior and opinions speak for themselves. And denying them the ability to show their dumb ramblings denies everyone else the ability to learn from these people's mistakes, understand these irrational people's behavior, and makes this site an echo chamber. That's debatable. One of the biggest ways that people grow and change is by virtue of their surroundings. Imagine a city that has a single, active clan rally every weekend. The city eventually bans it, and the nearest city that allows it is a 2-hour drive. Many of those people, not all of them, won't make that drive. Their environment has lost a lot of the force behind its feedback loop. Some will become de-radicalized over time by virtue of simply not being around radical people. It's a bit of a different beast on the internet, since the distance between any 2 points is smaller. But it's the idea of mitigation in general. The more barricades you put up for an action or behavior, the less likely you are to see that action or behavior. Thieves aren't all just gonna keep stealing when you put up cameras. Some will be deterred. This is because humans don't have infinite energy and motivation to pursue their worst instincts. Edit. And on top of this, an ideology is much harder to spread when its microphone is smaller and farther away from population centers. It's not about changing minds. It's about preventing losing those minds in the first place. You're rarely ever going to change anyone's mind through polite dialogue. And never ever will that happen on Reddit. Especially when the discussion is "don't be racist." Honestly. Come on. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.